Hi, and welcome to CMPP Speaks for Schools programme. Today I'm going to be chatting to Chris Symonds, who's an operations manager for Dynavics, which is an IT company based over in Camberley. Morning, Chris.
Morning, Rachel. How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. Doing all right.
Great. So thank you so much for joining us today. Chris is just going to tell us a little bit more about what he does and how he got to that position. So, Chris, can we start by just finding out what it is you actually do? What does an operations manager for an IT company do?
Everything. I think it was probably be the best way to describe it. I basically act as a bridge, I suppose, between all of our various departments within the business.
Right.
From our support team to our delivery team who are delivering projects, um, marketing, finance, product development, and I kind of make sure that us as a business are we're all talking to each other in the right sort of way and communicating, and any sort of business processes that we might need to go through and stuff like that, just to keep everything sort of going. The team here actually refer to me as the glue that kind of holds all the teams together and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily have it like a team, like all the department heads are basically kind of like my team, and I just make sure that we're sort of all talking to each other and everything's running as smoothly as possible. We'll phrase it like that.
Yeah. And so then how did you get to the position you're in now? Let's go back to when you left school. Tell us your career journey.
Oh, that's a bit of a roundabout sort of way. So so I suppose I left school, went to university,
Right.
and I actually spent, after maybe a little bit of a hiccup with my A-level results, shall we say, I actually left and got into an H&D program for a couple of years to do an H&D in computing. So did that for a couple of years in Newport in South Wales. Then I then changed university and went to Bournemouth University and did a year program to actually get my degree. So despite my hiccup with my A-level results, 3 years later, I wandered away with a degree in computing and internet technology.
Right.
Um, so that was okay. I had a little bit of a Anyway, didn't quite think I was going to get there after 3 years, but so that was quite nice. Um, like anything, I think sort of fell into a bit of a trap because I had an IT degree, but necessarily no experience. So actually getting that first IT related job was very difficult. I actually ended up working for a chain of outdoor activity centres who
All
have their
right.
own IT facilities. And so I kind of did a mixture of those outdoor activities, which is I had plenty of experience in that during my summer jobs while I was at university and stuff like that, and sort of got into my IT got some IT experience and actually sort of doing that sort of thing. So that was quite nice. I spent about a year and a half doing that. And then I managed to sort of get I would say my first real IT job, doing some database administration for a small firm called Arena for Finance. And they also did some administration and database membership kind of administration for an organization called BAHA, which is the British Association for Hospitality Accountants.
Right.
And I sort of got into organizing networking events and stuff like that for them. And that is where I met a gentleman called Peter Lingham. He was the owner of um, another a Microsoft partner, who specialized in a product called, at the time it was called Navision, and then Microsoft changed the name. It was then called Dynamics NAV, and now more recently it's called Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is what its current name. So it's had a few iterations, but the software has mainly remained the same. So because I did all the database administration for Baha, they and my hours are being reduced to part-time, he offered me a bit of part-time work, sort of answering the phone, um, on the support desk, and sort of learning about this ERP system. So I did that, I basically started for them for a few days a week and Baja a couple of days a week and stuff like that. But after a couple of months, they basically said, "Yeah, come on over full time," sort of thing. So, and that was basically how I got into the Microsoft partner world. So yeah, so that's how I got it. And then I've spent at the previous place I spent 13. That was about 13 years ago now. But my time at the Nav People, I spent, a few years on customer services, so support desk, so dealing with queries, error messages, and stuff like that from customers. I moved into the account management team, so it was a bit more sort of sales oriented, but more relationship kind of management and stuff like that between us and the customers. Did that for a chunk of time. I even spent a bit of time in the product development team. I'm not a developer at all. In fact, I'll look over at my product director now and he'll look at me and be like, "Really? Chris, developing? That's not a good thing." So I stay away from the coding side of things. And then as part of my role, I sort of started doing online content. So helping out the product team producing content for marketing to use. I refer to it as a geek translator kind of job role because I was just taking what the product team came up with and turned it into English to be used for marketing and stuff like that. So, but as part of that, it came hand in hand. I got quite involved in the training side of things. So eventually, my role kind of turned into a training manager role. Sort of naturally kind of progressed into that, and so I spent about 6, almost 7 years doing training stuff. So online video creation, actually on-site training. So I actually would go to customer sites and deliver training, as well as creating videos and stuff like that as well. Decided I needed a bit of a challenge and stuff like that. So after 12 years, sort of left. I spent about 6 months actually working at another Microsoft partner who does uses the similar sort of software and stuff like that. Didn't necessarily feel I sort of fitted in with the team there. I'm not that corporate as such. That was quite a corporate sort of environment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So decided to then sort of leave and stuff like that. And I happen to know a bunch of the team here already because in our sort of niche kind of Microsoft part of the world with this Dynamics 365 Business Central, you kind of tend to know a lot of the people that have already worked in there, and everybody knows everybody sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was quite the thing. So I literally remember just sending a couple of the guys here a message being like, "Have you got anything sort of going sort of thing?" And yeah, they snapped me up and said, "Actually, Chris, we've got this sort of great role that we think you'd be good at, and that is being the operations manager." And I suppose my experience around, I've worked with support, customer services, account
You've done a bit of
management,
everything.
training. So I got involved in lots of different things. So I wouldn't necessarily say I've kind of really specialized in anything over the years. I have got quite a broad spectrum of things, which means I kind of know roughly what all the teams kind of do, and I can sort of get a good understanding of that and sort of bring that in and stuff like that into the team. And kind of I don't need to know how the product team do all their kind of in-depth development and stuff like that, but I know roughly what they do and sort of and stuff like that. So that allows me then to be sort of best placed then to be that sort of bridge and gap between all the departments. So
yeah, that's got you into that position effectively, hasn't it? Because you haven't necessarily specialised in a sector within the IT. Yeah, that's by having all that experience, that's got you to the operation manager role.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been quite nice to sort of, draw on those little bits of experience and stuff like that. Being like, oh yeah, I remember doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Brings you back
it's quite fun. Yeah, and it's to be fair, it's very similar problems.
Yeah.
It always is. They're like, right, yeah, okay, this is a problem. Well, we've had this problem. Well, I know about this problem because I used to be on the receiving end of it. So actually then thinking about that and the processes then to benefit both sides of the team. So what the business needs and what the teams need is quite a nice sort of mechanism and experience to have. So
yeah, Oh, fantastic. What a story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
That's
you
right.
talk about Microsoft Partner World. Can you just tell me really briefly what that means, just to someone like me who doesn't massively know?
That's all right. So basically, yeah. So my company is called Dynavics,
Yeah,
um, and we are basically partnered with Microsoft. So
right.
we're referred to as a Microsoft partner. So we sell a specific piece of software for Microsoft. So Microsoft don't actually really do any direct selling.
Yeah.
They rely on partners in the country,
Oh, got
in
you.
all over
Yeah.
the world, to actually sell their software and do all the, you know, feet on the ground kind of sales and relationships and stuff like that.
So you
But
go out to other companies then, effectively, and
mhm.
help them with their IT and their Microsoft
So
software.
specifically though, because we're quite specialized, we only really deal with this Business Central product, and
Yeah.
which is it's a big ERP system. And by ERP, I refer to it as an enterprise resource and planning tool. It basically helps run a business,
Hmm.
all aspects of the business.
And I think that's the interesting thing about IT, isn't it? It's there's such a huge amount of job roles out there. I think for anybody that's looking
Mhm.
to get into IT, it's all of those plus what you guys do, and it's yeah, absolutely
It,
humongous, really.
it's a huge area, and it can be
Yeah,
quite daunting as to like where you kind of like want to
when you
end up
start.
going. So,
Yeah,
but even then, even within like an IT team, like an IT company like us, we're still a business. We still need people that do
yeah,
marketing, that do finance, that do like all that kind of stuff, and stuff like that. So, we still have that need as one within the business.
no, brilliant. Thank you for elaborating on that as well for me.
That's all right.
Um, can you just in your career then, what have you think you found most challenging from again from starting school to even now? Have you?
Oh, that is a very good question. What have I found most challenging? Um, I definitely think that's probably like learning the software. I think was probably one of the biggest things that I challenged with most. I didn't really have that much IT experience coming in, and also not necessarily that much sort of business kind of experience either. Like working as an outdoor activity instructor, and for those couple of years, between university and there, didn't really sort of allow me to come in and understand how a business sort of works. Um, so trying to relate what I was being taught about the software to a business was very difficult for me. Um, but then saying that, as part of like my previous training sort of role that I had, I could bring that in and stuff like that. And I was actually involved in bringing junior people into the company and actually coming up with a training program for them to learn the software and about business processes to bring them up to speed into those sort of roles and stuff like that. So
Yeah, no, thank
yeah, that
you.
was that was always quite challenging.
Yeah, that sounds a bit. Yeah, I know. I mean, especially for me, who's not really biggest on IT, it sounds like a very big challenge. But like you say,
Yeah,
kids out there as well. It's all in our nature the same, isn't it? It's not the same as when we grew up.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, and
so
it's constantly changing all the time as well. You just
yeah,
yeah.
and so you're operations manager now. What have you got any aspirations for the future where you want to be or
I mean, I'm quite lucky that this is we're quite a small business
yeah
in relation to some things. We're just coming up to about 40 employees, I believe. Um, we're constantly recruiting and stuff like that. Um, no, aspirations and stuff like that. I quite like what I do at the moment. I like the
yeah
team, a bit of a
yeah? How
giggle.
long have you been at Dynavics for?
Oh gosh, how long have I been here? About 5 months, I think, actually now.
All right,
So
so
not,
still quite new to be asking you about aspirations and
yeah, exactly. So I don't want to say
yeah
that as well because there are directors in the room, so I don't really want to chalk myself in it.
yeah. I want to be a director of Dynamics.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think, I
And
don't think. Well, maybe in the future, but I'm, I'm,
and I think it's
I'm
worth
more
sort of
into like
pointing out.
how like the happiness and stuff like that. I'm quite happy with what I'm doing and enjoy coming into work and such at the moment. So
I mean, I've been to the office and it's a really cool place to work, isn't it? And I think it's worth sort of pointing out that they do apprenticeship, IT apprenticeships, I think now, which again probably weren't really around when we were at school as such, but
Yeah.
they're fantastic opportunities for anybody that's wanting to get into IT.
Oh, exactly. I think sort of any sort of STEM related programs and stuff like that, and especially at school
Yeah.
and outside of school as well. So it's possibly worth mentioning that because I've enjoyed my time at teaching, I still do a lot of training
Right.
around STEM related subjects, but actually through the Royal Air Force Air Cadets,
Oh wow.
where
Okay. Oh, that must be really
so
rewarding.
yeah, so outside of work, I'm training, in fact, 12 to 18-year-olds,
Oh wow.
and delivering sort of those sort of related subjects and stuff like that. I tend to specialize on more of the leadership kind of teamwork training side of things at the moment.
Yeah.
But I've been doing that for about 13 years as well. So,
Oh,
um,
fantastic.
but that sort of experience and stuff like that, as well as um, helped me in sort of getting this role and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, all those things sort of mould you and help you get to where you are today. Oh no, listen, thank you so much, Chris. I'm just going to ask you if you've got any sort of final bits of advice for any sort of students about to make their options or making decisions of what they're wanting to do with their career.
I think, that's yeah. So obviously, with hindsight in mind, I think that for me, I've possibly got a little bit complacent with my A-level exams, and it did stress me out quite a bit. But I think that actually, though, despite the fact that I basically failed all but one of my A-levels, unfortunately. Despite what I was predicted to be getting. So it was a bit of a bolt out the blue. But
Yeah,
I think despite that, there are still plenty of options out there.
yeah,
I still got into university. Okay, I did an H&D. I don't think they do H&Ds anymore. I think they call them foundation degrees now, I think, but we'll see about that. I sort of went down that route, and despite the fact that I didn't do very well in my A levels, 3 years later, I'm still walking away with a 2-1 degree.
yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah,
And I think that is a route and stuff like that. But a lot of the people that I work with and a lot of the people that I'm employing into the business and stuff like that don't necessarily have degrees.
and that shows
They've decided
strength
to
as
go down
well.
the apprenticeship one.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
was just
Rachel?
going to say. Sorry, that sort of shows strength as well. If you failed all but one of your A levels, but you still got yourself up and took yourself off to university to do a degree, I think that's brilliant.
Hmm.
That could have
Yeah,
knocked you down,
exactly.
couldn't it? And you could have thought, oh,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I was very determined not to let that happen
yeah,
again. So, there was kind of it was a bit of a wake up call, I think,
yeah. And then you
for me
walked out 3
personally
years
and
later.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
but I don't think here, when we're interviewing people and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, it's nice to have a degree, but I wouldn't say it's the be all end all of people's sort of employment and stuff like that. I know plenty of people that don't have degrees that are that are managing directors of businesses and stuff like that. So it is good, but it's not necessarily all what it's cracked up to be.
yeah,
I would say
yeah. And there's so many options out there now, isn't there? Like you say.
there are
So
so many options. So
yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for sharing all of that with us today. It's been great to hear your
that's right.
story. Really enjoyed listening to that. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rachel. It's been a
Thanks then,
pleasure.
Chris. Thank you.